again. We're talking about the 2026 budget as we are living through, all these legislative changes we've been talking about. It seems like for the last 6 or 7 months, and had several guest speakers about it. As we go through the budget, keep in mind, these are all based on estimates. DLGF, which is the Department of Local Government Finance, sprinkles information out, county, for county information as well as statewide information. And there's still information we don't have. And in some instances, we don't get complete DLGF information until several months after we adopt our budget. So keep in mind, these are based on estimates, and as we get new information that changes, we will incorporate it. I will tell you, one area that we're closely watching is what is our net tax levy after all of the elements of Senate Bill 1, Senate Enrolled Act 1 gets incorporated. Because that does have the circuit breaker, which is property tax credits in it, as well as the new credit and new exemptions that was in the Senate bill. What we'll do from here, and Mindy will talk here in just a second, we'll talk about the timeline. But what we're doing is a workshop to kind of answer your questions about what's in there, why we landed where we did. Again, it's still subject to change. But this will then be distilled into a notice to taxpayers, which will then be presented, and then we'll have a public hearing on the actual budget that council intends to adopt. That is part of the notice to taxpayers. All this information will be in the state transparency portal called Gateway. And then from there, we'll have an ordinance that council is called Form 4. Council will actually adopt the ordinance. And then all of this goes through the process and has to be adopted by November the 1st. But between now and then, tremendous amount of work. As you can see, refining down hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of appropriation lines, getting it into the Form 1s, and getting it into a shape where we can actually send it to DLGF for approval. So now I'd like to ask Mindy to say a couple of words about the timeline and maybe discuss, Mindy, the structure of the master sheet that we're going to go over, and maybe put that on the screen first, is that master sheet. So because that really is guiding us on the snapshot of what the 2026 budget looks like.
I can't talk and do this at the same time. So.
Oh, did someone
That's
take the cone out?
okay.
We should probably leave that cone in there, Johnny.
I don't think the bank will.
I don't think it's setting an alarm off for you.
No.
Oh. But if somebody wants to come in, they can, since it's a public meeting. Okay. What I'm asking Mindy to do is load up the master sheet, which is the summary of all of the tabs that you see in your book.
So, the main thing I would tell you is, when he says it's an estimate, this year is a really very much an estimate. We still don't have lit, we haven't sorted lit out. So we use last year's number for lit public safety and county tax, which is the other lit budget. We still don't know where circuit breakers are going to land, and there is a difference depending on how you calculate it of $1 million. And that is all related to general fund budgets. That is not anything other than the departmental budgets, the stuff in green on your summary. So this is the best we can do for the moment, and it is ultimately, we're gonna get it where we think it needs to be dollar-wise, and then when it gets submitted, DLGF will tell us yes or no by category.
What's the timeline on us knowing a little bit more, especially on the circuit breakers and stuff? What are we hearing from the state?
So, because of all the changes they've made in the legislative side, I don't think they know how to calculate. I think there was a lot that was not really thought through on how it would actually work. We had Reedy do a parcel by parcel analysis, which is how we came up with our net levy number. We trust them, but again, it's only based on data that is available. So we tried to be conservative in it, and hopefully we'll
And just so you know, Reedy, I talked to Gary Smith today because we're expecting about a 6 to 8 week delay on RDC stuff from the state as well. And he's at Carmel tonight, at a very similar meeting that he was before. And they did a parcel by parcel, review of Carmel, same process they did for us. So, I mean, the communities are all going through the same process. So,
They
but the
just-
state is delaying
I'm sorry, Tony.
by a few weeks, for sure.
You know, so, I mean, but we wouldn't get payout, I mean, for it, you know, on this new circuit breaker, that wouldn't happen until the spring, right?
It's certified in April, so budget is required to be approved and submitted by November 1st, and then submitted by
Yeah.
November 8th, and then they tell us in
Based on-
April.
Well, I mean, back up, they'll give us a budget order by the end of the year, and then there's actual levies and lits that they certify like in April. So it can be a few months lag there, and then you just have to do a true up, but we'll have a budget order by the end of the year.
So the first quarter really is based on an estimated budget then?
The
It's not
entire,
certified.
yeah, honestly, because you don't get certified lits and certified levies until, this year we got it in May, I think, April or May. So we have to, they've not changed the timeline of any submissions, right? So there's still a lot of information to gather and digest and under the same timetable. So they're under the gun too, and everybody's going through the same
And
process.
typically, we're pretty close on our estimate, but I don't know if it was this budget year or last budget year, it was $100 and some thousand more, which means $100 and some thousand less to us. And you just don't get it. It's not like you have to pay it back, you just don't get it, so you make adjustments.
And I would say, agreeing with both of you, that is wildly going to be unexpected with that SE1 bill. It's not gonna be an easy thing for them to narrow down, so.
All over the place. And some of the data, they don't even have yet at the state level. So anyway, she was mentioning 2026 budget, approximately $16.5 million. Around half of that's funded from our property tax levy, and then of the property tax levy, what you've seen us do over the last few years is make sure that that's covering all of our general fund operating expenses, and like 90% of our property tax revenue that we receive covers the salary and benefits of the employees of the city.
Yeah, I wanted to mention this sheet, and you've all seen it before, but everything in green is what comes out of our tax levy. So it's not just the departmental budgets, we also have to fund Park and Rec, Aviation, and Coon Cap out of that, and it comes off our tax levy total. So it makes it even, it squeezes it even tighter for the departmental operational budgets. This year, I tried to do this in transparency for you, which is move the personal services, which is salary, benefits, stipends, incentives, whatever, is out there, personal stuff, into the right budget. So the number one, that personal services column, that is all salaries, benefits, and those type of things that go to our staff.
Compensation or something.
And supplies is what it is, other services is professional fees, it might be, subscriptions to software, the licensing and things like that we have to do. There is only $155,000 in capital in the general fund budget, and the 155 is just the Coon Cap, and that funds itself. So there's $37,000 of capital in this budget. I just didn't have room to move it out, or it wouldn't be in there either. Capital has all been moved to these other funds that basically either fund themselves through their own revenue, or we have a different tax levy that funds it, like the local road and street, the MVH stuff, police pension, CCI is cigarette tax, county tax is lit, and then all of our NROs fund themselves. So, hopefully, just to give you a little clearer picture of how we structured it, and then I also wanted to mention on the police, ever since I've been involved, which is since 2010, the police have had some of their personal services expenses scattered throughout the budget. And you cannot look at their budget and get a clear picture of what it costs to operate a police department.
So what's the logic of that?
Putting it where there's funding available. And when Lit Public Safety came out, it made sense to move some things over. What I've done is put personal services back over, put capital, equipment, maintenance, that sort of thing over there. That number that you see for category 1, if you look at the police budget, their general fund budget has nothing in it but staff. That's it. It's $3 million. That is not an increase in their budget, it's actually a reduction in their budget, but you're seeing the total now. Instead of having to go here, county tax, the public safety, continuing education, I mean, it was all over the place.
And I would say too, this really became a big talking point during the legislative session, because there are communities like ours that are facing pretty deep cuts because of the Senate bill. And when you really monetize how much a community spends on public safety, in many instances, it's like half of their budget. And in the case of ours, it's almost half of the property tax revenue that we get. It's a big expense. We're fortunate to have a volunteer fire department. Other communities aren't, and so just double that for whatever you spend for the police, you're doing the same thing on fire. And so there's lots of conversation on the horizon to have, but that became a big talking point about what's the impact of the Senate bill. And then that rolls into what we've been talking about over the course of the next couple of years, particularly when we get into 2027. Every community has to adopt a new local income tax. Every county and every municipality, they have to adopt a new local income tax. And that's where more of this information comes into play, which is what's it going to cost us to operate police and fire and other public safety investments in the city.
And I assume that the increase in the police fund is because you're putting everything into that one fund. Although there's actually a decrease in the spending for the police, it looks like there's an
Yes.
increase of 400-some-thousand. There's not, because we pulled all those others in.
Yeah, I was
looking
gonna
at-
ask that, cause it's like an 18% increase,
Yeah.
but then now
It's
it makes sense.
It's a jarring number, I mean, when you
Yeah.
look at it, but I wanted you to see it. And everything else that it takes to operate that department is in lit public safety or their continuing education. Their pension is an in and out thing, but. So my thought was we would just go, you've got readable tabs this year, so hopefully you can find them easily, but Tony's here. Unfortunately, Nicole had a personal day today, but she will be available by phone if needed, so between Tony and I, we'll try to cover everything in her budgets and his budget. So, you wanna start with economic development?
We're just
Tony?
gonna try to stay on a schedule. We have several of the department heads coming in tonight to get through whatever questions you might have of them
And
on their
if
budget.
somebody's here and somebody's late, we'll just move right on to whoever's here.
Yeah, so, good evening, counselors. You will see an 8% decrease year over year in the budget. Basically, that's, just tightening up a few things and having a couple years of history of understanding what some of the expenses have been.
You got the economic development budget, Mindy?
Yes.
Yes. You got it pulled up.
Oh, I hit the button.
You hit the button, it didn't come up. A couple things that I wanted to let you know too. We've got a good relationship with the county, as you know, the interlocal agreement for economic development, where they give us dollars each year. I have been able to go back and ask for additional dollars for the software Placer.ai, so they give us an extra $5,000 each year for that subscription. It totals about 17, I think now. It's gone up from 14 3 years ago, but I think it's been a great investment. The county sees that too, and so they're sharing with that, and that we also share that with VMI. So while we don't give a lot of dollars anymore to tourism, we are sharing that data and that software with VMI as a point. So I wanted to let you know that we continue to try to have others help with those offsets. So The county does give us an additional 5, it's July when we turn it on.
So what's the total the county gives us for economic development?
The interim,
45?
45,000,
45,000?
yeah. Plus the help offset the placement. So for that, I'm the local economic development officer for Jefferson County. The IEDC sees that, and I advise the commissioners and have meetings with them as needed and continue to work through various questions from companies that look to locate here inside the buffer zone, inside the city and inside the county, and work with the county commissioners as we move forward with that. Worked with them recently on a couple opportunities where the IEDC wanted letters of support, letters of consideration, so the commissioners and I had meetings that went through that and really end up writing those things, so. That's sort of where we are, proposing an 8% decrease in the year-over-year budget.
So Shirley, I got a question for you, because I think you'll be able to answer this.
Oh,
Why is the FICA and the perf going up so high?
because now, this is a huge thing that was historically done, that FICA perf, the majority of FICA perf was taken away out of county or city council. And that's the way it has historically been done. We worked really hard this year with Mindy, Jenna, and Shannon and payroll to get that trued up to which department has how much for FICA perf. So you guys have a better number. When you're looking at that number for police is a great example, because it had historically been coming out of city council budget. And so it was a 1.2
So this was another
million.
budget thing where it's
Yes.
budgeted, some of it was budgeted other places, and that's
Yes.
why, okay.
Yes.
And I may just
So you'll
add that,
see
I think in the
Wrong
last
way.
couple of years, the state increased our perf contribution
Okay.
a couple of points. So that's another, and that's a big number.
Yeah,
And it
so-
was genuinely under budgeted.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not budget enough the last
Foundations,
few
okay.
years.
Yeah, and that's just a historical issue, that it's just, there's so many moving parts to this thing. It was just easier to make sure that it was balanced someplace, but now what she's done with the paperwork is put it where it actually belongs, which is a huge benefit.
Which I like that
Departments
it's
as
all
well.
where it needs to be, which is
Yeah.
good,
But
because it's a
you'll
lot
see
easier
it.
to look at the department and go,
Yeah.
hey, this is what they're spending.
Yeah,
I just was making sure that we didn't have some,
what have we done?
computation
Yeah.
error
Yeah.
again, and it, cause I'm like, man,
Yeah.
All
that's
those
a
numbers
big
were
increase
really
compared.
high, like in every department I was
Each
circling.
department.
It's
Perf.
so
Each
it's
department.
Medicare,
Yeah, it's your,
FICA perf, it's 18.85%.
it's your social
On
taxes.
gross
basically.
salaries.
Yeah,
Is
Okay.
what it is.
So it isn't an actual, it is a slight increase, but it isn't as high as it appears when you go through the sheets.
no, because if
It's
you.
simply just a shift.
We've paid it
From
every
one
year, we
place
just
to
end up
another.
scrambling to find the money.
So if you check
Right.
on your common council page, you went from last year's approved budget of 360,000 down to 13,000.
Right.
And that's basically
Glad
what
we
was
cut
happening.
that, gosh, dang, that's, whew.
You guys are paying a lot.
Look at that, I think we're good.
That makes so much sense. That is
Yeah.
only-
But it's.
But it does make a lot of sense.
It's helpful to let aviation, economic development, street department,
Police.
everybody knows now what their true cost is.
And that was
So
always a
that's
goal.
big thing.
When Mindy, I was on the council prior to this term, and that was a goal that you had to put the true expenses in the right category, so you do know what is police spending,
It took us
what
a while.
is
It's
the
taken
department
probably
spending.
3 or 4 years to get there, still not
Yes.
completely there, because it's just such large numbers in the police department.
Well,
You're talking $200,000 for FICA perf.
when we first initiated that change, I was very much in support of it, and I still feel like that's the right way to go. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that that is going,
We did a
continues
thing-
to be tweaked and improved upon.
And I'll quickly just tell you, we did a thing that, they're called yearly APVs. They're not legit, or we're not using those because they move around, they fluctuate so much.
Yeah.
But it's a way for us to grab, okay, who's in here, and it's not by name, but it's by what's budgeted, and where does it need to be, and how much are we going to be upside down? So it's really helped us a lot. So next year, I'm grateful to see this is getting put back in place.
Cindy, there's line 4, the percentage change should just be 3%, not 5. It's hard coded. For it's typo.
I don't think I can make a change on screen, cause I've blocked it, but.
What was the beginning one for what?
This just should be 3% increase, not 5%. Just a formula issue.
We had council or?
Economic development. It's,
Is that top?
it's actually the second one.
Second.
Second.
Oh, the second one. Okay.
Second budget line.
It's an error in the good direction.
Yeah,
Would you say the percentage?
it should be
It was
3.
It should be
instead
3.
of 5.
It's, yeah, it's not.
I wondered about that.
With the change in Tony Minnie's job responsibilities, titles, do we need to look at renaming any of these line items?
Yes.
appropriately?
Yes, and I don't have clear direction on how that happens. I've been told it has to be approved by council. I've,
To change the line items?
yeah, I don't know if that's true or not,
No.
but my thought is if you.
Sure, I'll change it.
Okay,
We can change names pretty easily. They come up when you populate an appropriation line, it comes up as a random name, so we enter that anyway, so.
I
There's
did
just a few
change it
up
on
there.
the salary ordinance. I tried to straighten it up there, so it'll be easy to go through it.
What's the information that leads you guys to the proposed amount? You know, what brings you to, in 2025, we had $50,000 spent, for example, on the road to, column. And then we have a proposed amount of 51.5. What kind of,
That's
what's
an
guiding
employee,
us to
that's a
understand
3% increase, so
Salary.
salary,
That's
that's.
the
just-
cost of
Okay,
living?
so that's
Yeah.
based solely
Yeah, for
on-
salaries, it's based on 3%.
And the 3% is derived from standard cost of living increases?
Well,
coupled with
that's
insurance.
directed by the mayor, and I
The
think that's
number we're-
across
the
the
number we're
state.
recommending,
It's what, it's what you're seeing
Kinda
as salary
standard
increases,
average right
general
now.
salary
So
increases
there's
for
reasonable
2026.
anecdotal
Yeah,
evidence to
yeah.
bring you to that 3%.
It's still a little early, cause there's still a lot of information that, will still get put out there. Right now, the indication, just like with what we look at Brody for 2026, we're getting regular budgets too. General salary increases you're seeing, is 3%, but that's almost always, if you ask me, I'd say 3%, I'll be right 90-some% of the time,
Yeah.
3%'s it, right? And then sometimes it increases to 3.5, and you see a market go, maybe it's 2.75. But if you go 3%, you got a good, you're right.
in our higher inflation years in the past 4 or 5 years.
But it's a good question.
We maxed at 5%, but inflation's come down, right? And not everywhere, but the composite inflation rate's come down, so we thought 3% was good enough for us.
Just, to our, the pension, the
Mhm.
interest pension that Jeff receives from the state for his work 30 years up there, it is adjusted every year. The COLA is a 3% increase, cost of living adjustment is every year, it's statute, 3%.
Okay.
It doesn't get to go higher. but it
Are
could
there
go.
any state guidance for some of these proposed increases or decreases for the percentage changes? Do we get any guidance
Um,
from that?
It's
AIM
on
does
our,
it.
there's salary surveys that AIM does. This is based on, what our historical operating expenses have been, plus anything that new that we might be targeting. The DLGF, not really. They're looking at tax rates and total levy amounts. So, and then we have to break it down obviously within, about 10 categories for them, but they don't get as granular as what we do here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that you do, Joel, is I go on and I've been going and looking at the salaries of cities similar to Madison, to just kind of see, were we too high, were we a little bit too low? Right now, I think we're, with the adjustments we made last year, I think it put us in a pretty good, position with some of the other cities.
Yeah, that sounds, very reasonable.
I didn't know what 3% right
The other thing, Joel, is there's a group list of like all the mayors
Mhm.
in the state, and clerk treasurers, and there's council members. You guys probably see the emails, but the mayor's really good about going out to that and saying, hey, what are y'all doing for raises this year? And it is literally all over the board. Some do none, some do 5, some do.
And honestly, the last place we want to make cuts is to the compensation of our employees who we depend on.
Sure.
So
Yeah, it affects
we're doing the best
service.
we can.
It
Yeah.
affects all services.
Right.
And when we're talking about benefit dollars, I'm sorry to interrupt you, every year, well, I mean, we take an increase every year, right? This year, Anthem, actually Apex, our, insurance.
Insurance been a
Broker.
Broker, thank you,
Yeah.
couldn't come up with the word. They did a really good job, early on before we went into renewal and secured a 2% increase for us, which is amazing, and we signed right away on that.
I would, yeah,
We're
I've been waiting to
fully
sign that.
absorbed
Yeah, right.
passing that cost.
Just like, hit the print button, but,
I've been signing it before it got to me.
it, every year when we get an increase, sometimes it's 6%, sometimes it's 8%, whatever, just on the benefit side. We look at, you know, do we charge more to our employees to participate in that?
Mhm.
And the theory has always been, you know, like our street department, some of our lower paid people, they
Better
don't
benefits.
make a lot of salary,
Yeah.
so having them pay more on their benefit side hurts them. We've worked to get their salaries up, so that's not quite as much of an issue, but when you look at the numbers, like especially the single enrolled, it's such a small amount. If you doubled it or tripled it, you would hurt them. It wouldn't have that much of a factor to us. So we look at it every time
Yeah.
and leave it alone. It's not worth what it would do to them.
Over the last few years, what have we, stuck with that 3%, have we pretty much?
We had one year when
COVID year.
inflation was around 9%, 5%.
Have we fallen behind? Next
I
year,
mean,
projections on saying 3.5%.
It's really hard to tell. I mean, I think they're competitive, but again, it is public service and it is, you know, we have different funding streams than typical business enterprise.
And the last year, we tried to bump the police up specifically.
Yeah.
with the-
We did.
We bumped just the chief.
Oh, just the chief.
There are specific areas, Josh, to that question that we probably need to look at, that where maybe 3% isn't the number, it should, maybe they need 4, or, 4.5 to be a little more competitive. But, it's really up to this council if you guys wanna, deep dive that a little bit, cause, I know with police, we certainly want to be competitive. But the problem we have is we're going into a year where there's uncertainty, and doing that might not look so awesome right up front, but, I do think it's something that we should be putting on the radar that as we go through and we're looking at 27, that we really do need to do a salary survey for positions. I mean, I think you could even look probably like that, that's on this one. Economic director, if you really want a good economic director, you're gonna pay for
Not
that.
Tony, but a good one.
Well,
Really good.
somebody that actually knows what they're doing, is
If you
what I'm
guys
saying.
would put some more
I mean,
money in
it's-
that line, we can do
Right.
that.
I mean, if you look at the South Central, I mean, Jennings County is in the low triple digits, just to give you a sense
Yeah.
of our surrounding counties. And again, it's just the type of individual and the caliber you typically recruit, so.
Yeah, there's such a variety in our, public services we offer, and a lot of different jobs that are not apples to apples, they're very different from each other. That you really can't just say, well, they're all the same, so we put them in this bucket and they all get this, right? I mean, that's how businesses go down, because you lose good people doing just that.
Well, I agree with
And
you
that's
too, Josh,
expensive.
sometimes there's a I'm sorry, Shirley.
No, it's fine.
Sometimes there's that cost to that savings, right? You get that lower end labor force and it ends up costing you double and prolonging your time. I think the endemic question is, as we go through this, is as we have more, less security, this stuff is a probability, we have to understand how to hedge in favor of that while also creating growth patterns. So that's one of the things I want to be able to speak intelligently to my constituents about, is when we make these decisions, if something does cost more or we're putting something there, what are we doing to offset that or mitigate that risk? Because if we're going into a year that has higher risk, that's fine, but how are we mitigating it, and going after it? So that's what I'm really looking at through all of that.
Yeah, it's offset, you may have to increase something, but you gotta offset it somewhere, you can't just increase and go get taxes and pay for those, and it's tough. I
Well,
mean,
there's a higher
it's a hard
cost.
thing.
There's a higher cost to risk aversion,
Yeah.
but there's an equal cost to failing to mitigate it. So.
Just the chief's here and we wanna go through the plan.
I'm early, so-
Oh, are you a little early?
Can we take a real quick look at his, 20s NRO? I mean, it's easy.
Yeah, so as you know, the strategy has been, the last couple of years to, try to find additional revenue not tax-based supported. So, you'll know last year was the first year we had the interlocal agreement with the Madison Railroad, and you all, proposed and supported, the license fee renewals going into this NRO. So you'll notice that the budget was 8% decrease. It's really more because FICA and PERF is in there now, and we're moving more general tax dollars into the NRO to support economic development with non-local, non-general fund dollars. So if you look at that, the overall economic development budget's going way down, which is a positive thing. And so anyway, with the that's where we move the professional fees this year.
I was gonna ask you, so is that when you go out and you get an engineer to come help you, what is that exactly?
Oh, it's attorneys working on interlocal or economic development agreements with, you know, projects like the apartments or projects like the, you know, Sunrise Crossing, opportunities we look at for other economic development.
What other kind of
deals.
specialists besides lawyers then?
Lawyers, accountants, and
Okay.
engineers or design firms.
Tax
Okay,
records.
thank you.
That's not a lot, really.
No, it's not a
No,
lot,
not for
honestly,
that.
it's not at all.
Maybe that one's got some information on the percentage too. They're all hard coded from last year.
Okay.
So back real quick to your second item, Laura. I thought maybe the 5% was an increase to try to get the salary of your associate officer up higher.
Yeah, I
But it's
thought that
just a
too.
3%, right?
Yeah, it's
Or
just,
is it the opposite?
no,
a
it's
typo.
it's a typo with the
It's
formulas,
just a
it's all
typo.
3%, that's what all
Okay.
the budgets were
I-
set for.
Over the last several years, we have tried to adjust, we had ranges, salary ranges. And then for some people that were grossly underpaid, we were trying to give them a different increase in order to get them in
Yes.
line with something that made sense for what services and work they're providing.
Correct.
So I was just
We're not,
asking,
we're
it's
not
just a
proposing
typo.
any of that
Okay.
this time.
Just clarifying that, and my one statement about this budget is I was really pleased that the return on investment is huge for what your department does. And
Thank you.
so this was like an easy one to go over, some of them are a lot more complex, but this one is equally important as some of the other ones, but for the budget you're presenting and the work you put out, I think it's very, very
Yeah,
good.
we're trying hard to continue to find non-tax revenue to support the activities, so
Yeah.
we'll continue.
I appreciate that too.
And thanks for the support on those two opportunities that came towards us.
Okay.
Planning?
Yeah, we can go to planning. The planning budget is virtually flat for the year. We are recommending not to fill the associate planner position given the current budget situation. So that allows us to do a couple other things. Again, we've added all the perf and all that in here, so again, the budgets are a little hard to look year over year, but generally it's a flat budget. I can tell you that the addition of the nuisance officer, code compliance has been huge. I think we see that in our neighborhoods. No one should have to have their property values negatively impacted by houses that are in bad repair or weeds that are growing up or those sorts of things. So that has, I think, brought us great benefits to our neighborhoods, to our residents, and hopefully our property values in those neighborhoods. That was a great addition that we added a couple of years back and continue to ramp that up. If you look at the NRO, I'm gonna pull that up for planning. We are starting to talk about a couple of other, call them strategic plans or comprehensive plans, maybe in late 26, but certainly in 27. So we're starting to put some dollars. I'm looking at a different sheet.
Well, which one are you talking
What
about?
are you looking for?
I was looking for the-
Those are her, Nicole supplied her expense.
So again, in the NRO, we are moving some attorney's fees back, increasing our travel and training, again, with those non-tax dollars that are coming through licensing fees and our other revenue sources we get from a number of those code violations. I would say that we may, as the year progresses in '26, would want to start thinking about talking through a comprehensive plan. We are getting close to the plan that we're working through right now. You can check a lot of things off that were in that plan that was done in 2019, I think, 2018.
The last comprehensive plan?
Yeah, when was it?
2016.
Yeah,
2016, okay.
Yeah.
That
Well,
dates
yeah.
me, because okay.
And that may, Tony, there's $60,000 in professional
Yes.
services for that.
For
So
that.
there's a potential to push that to 27.
Well, the 60 won't cover it all. So if we, those comprehensive plans, those strategic plans are about $125,000 typically. We might get them for a little less, but if you want a lot of public input and public meetings and surveys and those sorts of things from the community, those services just add up because it's all about time. So Nicole and I've talked about it, and the mayor have talked about it, but we'll see here as the year progresses in '26 if we, go out, solicit, and maybe start that process in the winter and then move that on in '27.
Some of the timing though, if it's 125,000.
Well, that's
60
we
in
put
one,
60 in
60
one
in
year and
the
60 in the other, and so that's sort of where we are, but we aren't sure timing, and we might want to start that process.
So the whole point of the NROs, right, is you create your own revenue and then you tell us how you're gonna spend it.
Yep.
Yeah, 'cause I look at that training travel and I'm like, for a year, but you're creating your own
Well,
revenue.
that's why she has that sheet for you. to
Right,
show what-
Show the
remember in
trend and
here,
track.
you've also got to cover MS4 and stormwater, the building inspector, code enforcement, planning.
And there's CEUs that are required for all those positions, so
What
it's
is
not,
a CEU?
Continuing ed.
continuing
Thank you.
education unit.
Don't be throwing around letters, I don't know.
So, to maintain an AICP, to maintain stormwater
IECP, what is that? Indiana State.
American Institute
Institute of Certified Planners.
Okay.
Association.
So,
Got that.
I got
so
that.
again, a number of the positions in this department are required to have so many CEUs to maintain their certifications, to maintain their licenses and those, so, you start thinking about, those conferences, some of them are in Chicago, some of them are all in local.
That's okay, I'm cool with you create your own revenue and then you tell, I'm cool with that.
So anyway, that's sort of where her plan is. Again, we're trying to shift as much of the revenue into the NRO, in the departments where we've been able to create revenue.
So the only thing I have, with your your expenditures, you have some greater increases than 3% for some positions. I'm assuming that is to put them in a more competitive position.
In the planning,
You just want to make sure it's on
Building
there.
inspector,
Building inspector and code
Building
Yeah.
inspector and code enforcement, yes.
yeah,
So,
I assume that, is that the case?
well, I just want to make
Right?
sure that's what.
That is the case.
That
That
is
is the
the case.
case.
So, Nicole, our director of planning, also has a background in historical preservation, but we have we have someone to do historic preservation because of her workload. Is that why we have, her background is in that,
Yes,
right?
she has a degree
Correct.
in historic preservation, and a master's, she has an undergraduate degree in planning and a master's degree. in
But the
preservation.
workload is so much that we need two people,
Yeah,
right?
given
To keep
the,
up with everything.
given the vacant and abandoned.
And one's managing a department, the other one is managing a process about preservation.
Okay.
So that's what Brenda's doing,
And
and
with the PACE grants.
Okay.
very
it's
robust.
Very robust.
okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And we are,
And the
again,
8.8 is to get that more in line, right?
We get 8.8 on the one, you get.
And then you have 11%
on
Yeah.
code
So-
enforcement.
11.11 is 5,000.
so if you go, if
Yeah.
you take the
Right.
building inspector's position, it's
Yeah.
we have had, tried to continue to raise that expertise up.
Mhm.
Our current building inspector, was a contractor that traveled the country, built buildings and restaurants and commercial properties, very, very well known. He loves the position, but he is underpaid, and so in that position we are, and that still is
It's still low.
Yeah.
That's still not.
Okay,
So he is, again, we have top talent there, and we wanna try to keep it. I think
Yeah.
we're seeing benefits of that in the community. And so we would like for that position to be a little bit paid more.
and the perf and FICA is for the same thing? as
Same
the-
thing, we moved
Okay.
that in.
Gotcha.
Okay, are we done with, are we ready to do the nuisance NRO?
We can't.
Should we do fire first and come back to that, because Tony,
Well,
are you
it's
gonna be
real,
here?
it's really, I think
Oh,
fairly
okay.
simple. So, the official records and office supplies associated with all of the public notices and those sorts of things that we're having to deal with there. Again, it is 100% supported by the fines and the tax liens levied against those property owners as a part of that. And that's where we pay the cutting of the grass, that's where we pay any of those repairs that have to be done on a property, and then those liens are filed against their taxes.
And that revenue would be very unpredictable considering the nature of the beast, correct?
And it's a timing
It's a
problem,
timing
because they have to get the nuisance cleaned up,
Mhm.
and they have to pay the person who did the cleanup.
And
But then they have to apply the tax lien
And wait for the
and
tax time to come.
when and if it ever gets paid.
so it's an important service that, if we don't have it, we're not cutting the grass on properties that
Right,
have
And I-
ignored our repeated warnings.
okay.
I just wanna point out, so next council meeting, I think it's Tuesday, next Tuesday. So you will see, this is one of those lines that was 10,000, they've gone over because they've been so productive in making sure they're staying on top of violations. So we have to increase that and go through the procedure, have a public hearing, so you guys can see that paperwork. But this
Appropriation,
is,
additional
yeah,
appropriation.
yep, so she's pushed that up a little higher this year to her department, so.
Can you
And
get some
26.
clarification with the expected revenue? That's a gross revenue resulted from that on the nuisance? Because if that's the case, it's 20,000, and then we have a proposed amount. Okay, we got 13, so there was a net of 7.
So I can tell you this, the paperwork that you guys are looking at, we just did a legal notice for it. I can tell you from 2022 all the way to 2025, what we brought in to date. 2025, we brought in to date 14,237.74. That was a couple of weeks ago. And spent 11,365.60.
Okay, so the trend's
So-
positive, but that's the.
The trend's
that's the
positive. There was a big chunk of money that was brought in, for year 2023, there was a 47,049.92,
Mhm.
and only 10,000 was spent out.
Oh, wow.
So we got a
there's
positive
money.
in that.
What
In
we're
that.
doing is that
Mhm.
with that paperwork, with the legal notice, what you guys will get on Tuesday is we're pulling that, trying to get that money pulled out of the fund, so it could be spendable. And that's the key. We have to do it the right way to get it dropped into that line, because 10,000 clearly wasn't enough. We spent 11,365.
So if you look at your, I think, when does the council get their reports? Shirley, do they get those
They
every
give
month?
them at the beginning of the month,
Okay.
right?
So if you look at your, if you look at the reports, you'll see a fund balance in that.
Okay.
The last got August 1st.
You just got it, you got it, yeah.
Not to create another line of effort or work, but that would be very helpful if there was like the actual balance associated with this on the same page.
On the
It's
fund
on the same
balance?
page. So
I'm
you
not
should,
seeing
well,
it.
it's on the fund. You should be able to see it on
It's
your
on
fund
the
report.
budget.
There's a
On the
revenue,
budget
there's a
page.
revenue sheet that shows you where the source of revenue is for that.
Mhm.
So that's the way she bifurcated it, which is, here's all your expenses and appropriations, and then here's a long list of all of your revenues.
Mhm. I would just say,
But
I
I
like to
see if,
see a
there-
net.
if there was a line item on this that says NRO balance as of,
Fund balance.
Fund
Yeah,
balance.
that,
Or
again,
historical data.
yeah, because as we're snapping back and forth to several of these, just to see that net
Yep.
would help.
Yeah, it's good feedback.
So there's currently $30,700 as of the end of July.
yeah, and we expect to receive another 20 next year, so we're spending roughly half. But again, it's gonna fluctuate, the cash flow is gonna fluctuate, but based upon how the county ultimately ends up funding it. And then the tax bills, do they pay the fines when they pay their taxes? Did they pay their taxes? A lot of those people, you know, are on the sheriff's side of us too, so, it could be a couple of years before you can get those funds, but.
For the nuisance abatement things, we know that not all of them are gonna ever get paid, right? Some of them,
They'll
Well,
should
eventually,
be
Well,
some-
period, the
some-
tax
someday.
sale.
They should get paid as a part of a tax sale at some point, so those
eventually.
liens are,
It could be years down the road.
yeah, I don't know
Well,
if we've ever.
normally, the county will put a property on a tax sale if it's 2 installments behind. Right, so it shouldn't be years down the road because, they would have the tax sale and then there would either be a tax sale or a redemption. So
So
hypothetically,
1 year.
I think hypothetically it could be 2 years, right? Because you've got,
1 year
you gotta get
redemption.
2 years in arrears and then 1 year for a whole redemption
Not 6
before you find out about that.
Not 6 months in arrears, or
2 installments.
To install.
2 installments of 6 months?
Previous
or-
year.
Yeah, 2 installments in 6 months.
Because you're paying the previous year.
So hypothetically it could be.
Okay, so you won't, cause we won't, so at minimum, we won't see it for a year,
Yeah,
maximum
maximum's two.
2-ish,
Yeah.
whatever it takes to do the
If they don't
sales,
pay.
these counties, yeah.
They get, after the tax sale, they get 1 year
Yeah.
to pay it off before the property would change, that money would be open.
So, then there's no interest, is there interest charged on that? Or does it bill out at exactly the dollar figure,
That I'm unclear on
I think
what
it's
the county
the
does.
exact dollar figure?
There's a penalty for
I think
unpaid
during the
property
redemption
taxes,
period, it's
but-
10% the first 6 months and like 15%.
So there is a penalty on top of it, that was
For
basically.
the fines?
If it goes to tax sale, it gets
Oh,
sold.
tax, yeah, sorry.
But I would assume that goes.
Yeah, that-
I guess, what I'm trying to figure out, is this, will this be truly self-sustaining? Is if we're guessing what there's fines on top of there's the cost that the city pays to abate the nuisance,
Are we
which is
getting
the dollars
extra?
that we're sending out. Then there's the fines on top of that, that goes into the same NRO,
Right,
so that should cover any
slow cash flow,
slow cash flow, interest stuff, right, in theory?
in theory, I
less.
think.
So
And
it should
again,
be
if we,
self,
and if
should
we're
get to a
conservative on,
actual-
if you're conservative on budgeting, like, you know, we've got, like I said, 58,000, and I think we're showing maybe spending.
Well, as long as that line item is always used, which I guess the other 2 line items have a small amount, but as long as that line item is always equal to what we're gonna eventually get from tax liens, right?
Yeah,
So it should be self-perpetuating.
but we know with the new ordinance, there's gonna be more.
Right, with the new
Next year.
abandoned
With
structures.
the new abandoned
That's what I was
structures, that's the
thinking.
reason why you're seeing the increase to 25.
More abatements.
More abatements that'll be done and liens be placed.
Ready for aviation?
Oh, is aviation for,
No,
who's
I
the
think-
6 o'clock is
I
fire?
think fire is.
Oh.
Fire.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where you going? That word. This is gonna be. Just gonna put these babies.
Probably.
Chief?
Yeah.
And then did you,
Oh, there he is.
let you know on all those, or are you just gonna check all?
I'll just check them all.
It looks like one of them got hard-coded from last year and copied over the same hard-coded numbers. Not all of them, but several of them.
Welcome, chief.
You guys okay if I stand? I've been on the road for 2.5 hours.
We do not care.
Good.
I will let you all know, some good news. We did find out on Friday that the Bethany Foundation did, award us, $500,000 for Welch Park. And that paperwork, the city council accept that. That'll be a tough one. I don't know, like, air and eggs, so.
I hit the button.
We're ready to start, yeah.
Here you go.
Recording, 450,000.
Good evening. Any questions before we get started?
Questions about your budget?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Or for me, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean,
Well, I did want to ask about how often do you replace the pagers? Because I saw them in 2 different budgets.
Correct.
So is it too much to put in one budget, so
Well-
we split it?
It's pagers and radios.
Uh-huh,
So I have that in my notes, but we'll go ahead and talk about it. So we're currently, our VHF system, we're preparing to move over to a dual system which has VHF, okay? You good with that one?
no,
Okay. It's a frequency that we use, it's a low band frequency. 800 megahertz is what the police use, EMS uses, and we use them on other scenes as well. It's a little more secure, people can't bleed over, and it's a state-run system. We currently don't use the 800 system the way it's designed because of antiquated radios. So the radios and pagers usually cost about $400 to $450 a piece.
really?
Correct.
And how often are they good, how long are they good for usually?
Yes.
Like, oh, okay,
Yes. So when I first started 20 years ago, I had one that was 15 years old.
I'll say my dad had his for at least 10 years.
So, but with the older technology, with the solid crystals and the solid state technology that they had, those things were tanks. Those are great. Those lasted forever. Miniature 6s, we just bought 30 of those last year. I'm sorry, 2 years ago, bought 30 of those. They're already outdated. Now they come out with a Miniature 7. Now, I'm not saying we have to go out and buy the Miniature 7s now. We have enough to last us, depending on new membership and how fragile they are with those pagers or how delicate they are with those pagers to replace. The big ticket cost is the radios, and like Chief Scudder could probably attest, the technology for the radios, I bought 5 this year. Any guesses how many 5 radios cost?
50,000.
$25,000.
28,000.
Oh my God.
You were close. So every year
Okay,
I'm gonna
so it's just a rotating thing, you just try to buy,
correct.
okay,
Yeah. So with that buying 5 to 6 every year, okay, we can get on a rotation schedule, kind of like our turnout gear, so we don't have to hit that cost all at once.
okay.
So if we hit all the costs, Sean, what'd you guys spend on the radios? Like 200,000?
It was several years ago.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
a lot.
So
Do you guys, have you considered any like mesh network radios, or have you used any of those before?
it's not a secure system for us to use with the radio systems that we actually, with the radio towers that we actually use. So the tower we use is actually at the state hospital. Our backup tower is at Station 6. The IPSC towers, I think our closest one is at Station 41 out there. There's one right behind Madison Township. So the system's already in place. I think with the mesh system, we would have to actually call or go into some other resources as well as far as the communication towers and everything else. I mean, I know military uses mesh systems, but yeah. But I think that would be a little more costly on the front end, not necessarily on the back end, but at least on the front end.
Is there any way or any consideration for working with the county and emergency management to see if there's any kind of budgets that could be leaned into, since a mesh network could be used with not only fire departments, police departments, but you can create your own unique channel base?
So here's the problem with that I could foresee is central dispatch. And with the IPSC, the secure channels that police officers have to use, I don't know if they will be able to go to a mesh system or not.
Okay.
Am I correct in thinking that?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Yeah.
So the current system that we and the county both share for the radios, is it, I guess, what's the plans for upgrading? Is there anything
So
in place?
we don't share the system. They're standard. We don't share it. We have our own towers. The IPSC, which is the state police, the state controlled 800 megahertz channel, that is a tower that they lease from Madison Township for that back there. We actually have our own towers, like I said, at Station 6 and the state hospital. Central Dispatch, part of our interlocal agreement, they actually manage that and govern that and keep all that up to date. So possibly trying to work with the county on upgrading a singular system. Would be some problems there. It's not saying we can't do it.
Well, it's like a singular, but I just know when we were working on 911 board stuff before that all went away,
Mhm.
there was talks about some of the technology upgrades that they were foreseeing with some of the towers and the communication systems, and I maybe misunderstood. I thought there was more shared equipment at the bases, maybe not.
There is at Central Dispatch. At that Central Dispatch Communication Center, there is shared equipment. That is very antiquated, 7 to 10 years on some things, 20 plus years on others. So there is the radios we're looking at is has VHF and 800 frequencies. I have one on my truck with the 5 we bought last year. So we can actually go back between both channels. If something happens, a tornado hits our tower at the Madison Township facility, if something hasn't, we can flip back over and use lower band technology. So that's the reason why we're paying a little extra, so we can bounce back and forth, and so we can be prepared for that. When we had the tornado in the Chelsea area, everything was chaotic. So that's the reason why we kind of are forward thinking that we can use both channels and both frequencies.
But our
So-
primary towers are owned and operated by the city, not by any county. Right.
Part of the interlocal agreement is we pay insurance on the towers as part of our main insurance policy, but they actually in charge of all the equipment. And we have to make sure power gets to that, and our power comes from the state hospital.
Has there been any appetite with the state in order to help offset costs to get a larger network, you know, first responders on the same page?
Not that I'm familiar with. I mean,
Okay.
but they do have state pricing. The Kenwoods or Motorola's, we went with the Kenwoods because they're a little more cost effective. Where I said 28,000 for the 5 Kenwoods, it was 42,000 for Motorola's. Now Motorola's, we all know it's you know it's the Batwing, it does great stuff, but I could justify spending another $20,000 on 5 radios.
All right, so $48,000 is in there the last couple of years for contract supplements for your general hire pay call, I'm
Mhm.
assuming on-call type stuff.
So what that is
What was it?
that's a paper call. So we do quarterly run stipends. So the guys and gals make paper call. It's points per run. So depending on their training level is the points they actually have per response. A driver, a senior driver, let's say John Shanestein, he makes 15 points per run. He's a senior member, but he can still operate the truck. Okay, so that gets 15 points per run. His son, that actually airpack certified, he can get 20 points per run. So if you're an instructor within the city, a driver operator, a firefighter 1 and 2, and a hazmat operations guy, you can max out at 25 points. So that's something that we're giving them to increase. We started that under the Welch administration about 12, 13 years ago. That was one of the first initiatives I did, was just try to bolster up some of our response.
Okay, so it's gone.
Are we doing away with it? Cause there's.
No, it's just moved to lit.
It
What
is
do
with
the
the-
points equate to?
What's that?
The points are equated on a financial incentive?
Correct. And you're gonna say, well, how much is a point worth? It depends on how many actual responses they make per that quarter.
Okay.
It's usually around 71 to 82 cents per point.
Are you seeing a growing trend? with
We
that?
did when we first started it. We plateaued.
Yeah.
But now we've got some guys like Brent O'Neill, Station 3, that have retired. So obviously his availability has increased. So he's a lot more available, and he's doing that quite often. So
So,
Oh, I see it there.
may not be a next year concern, but down the road, it's harder and harder to get volunteer firefighters. Right? And when do we foresee any potential need to up some of those incentives? Is that down the road a few years?
So one of the things I've got sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say 2027 is, between now and the summer of 2027 is when we really need to be kind of cultivating a better plan on what the next 5 years, I think, the transition is gonna look like with the fire department. That's one of the reasons why we're recommending going ahead and getting a full-time chief in place for 2026. But in 2027, as we've talked, we have to adopt our own municipal local income tax. And that has to cover police, fire, and other, municipal needs. So that's why I'm thinking between now and then is really important to get a lot of these conversations and monetize what our public safety apparatus is gonna look like.
Is there an appetite for a professional force, or is there a constraint keeping?
Don't use the word professional because we have professional volunteers. Use career. Sorry.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that can be found offensive to some people. So
Okay.
I would say career.
Okay, well.
I'm just trying to
we're
keep,
all-
I'm just trying to keep you from getting some
Absolutely.
bullets in the future.
We're looking at that now with all the departments and chief. And we'll be making recommendations, as we get into 2027. The answer is yes, we've got to figure that out.
Do you think that we can slow build, like, appoint the chief, then
There's gonna be a hybrid model along the
Yeah.
way.
We'll,
Yes.
we'll have to.
Yes.
There's no way the city can absorb, $2.5 million to go full career day one. There's
Yeah.
no way.
We dipped our toe into the hybrid system 12 years ago, it sounds like, with the
Yeah.
incentives, right?
Paper call. So I don't want to say we're moving towards it, But, you know, we're following some of the trends that are set nationally, with, you know, as a pay per call system. So there's other trends out there that we're looking at possibly going to, whether that's a hybrid system or, you know, I know LaGrange Fire Rescue in Oldham County, we're gonna go down and look at some of their models. This is kind of what the mayor was talking about. We're gonna put a steering committee together, to kind of get 2 reps from all of our stations together and say, hey guys, first thing is, we gotta find a new chief. And the whole thing about me being chief is, I'm super crazy. I've been working nonstop for the past 13 to 14 years. I love the city. I'm not gonna step down. I'm just gonna slide back, very similar to what my wife did when she was going through her cancer stuff. So excited about that, excited for the future. I just physically can't work down there, and we're getting ready to change our schedule down there. I might have a rotating 24 on, 48 off. We're probably getting ready to go to a different schedule next year, which is a 48 on, 96 off. It's the same amount of days per month, but I can't manage a department here and be gone for 2 full days down there. I have a great support staff, but it's not fair to the guys here and the citizens here for me to be gone for 2 full days back to back on a continual basis. And that's the whole thing with getting a new chief.
So what's the timing we plan on? Is it first of the year?
That would be up to him.
Is there any candidates in mind yet, or still?
We're getting ready to open up the application process. We're going to talk to you all about this first, and we're going to probably open up the application process probably mid-August to early September. To answer your question, January 1.
Is $65,000 an appropriate amount for?
So, my chief of Louisville, I'm just saying Louisville, he makes 6 figures, very easily makes 6 figures.
What about
So,
James?
That's the whole metro Louisville area though.
no, that is my chief for Anchorage Middletown. We cover 110 square miles. We cover pretty much from the Ohio River to Oldham County, all the way down to Shelby County to the Belltown Road area. We have
At
100.
$1,000 a mile, I think we're sitting pretty. Then.
I'm sorry?
I said at $1,000 per mile, I think we're sitting pretty. I'm just joking.
Yeah, but I mean,
Basis.
yeah, so I mean, do I think 65 will attract some proper candidates? Absolutely.
Well, you got to look at here, we have $25,000 for assistant chief that we didn't have last year.
Correct.
We're gonna go up to a full-time chief this year rather than half-time. So in a way, we're gonna be a little bit above than what we were last year with it, so, you know.
And if you remember last year we put last year we put the 2 community risk reduction specialists on. That was one of our dartboard goals. We were trying to get some more feet on the street to do some of the things that we need to be doing as a city. So that was kind of our big goal. That was our big goal last year. Hey, let's get these guys. That's going very well, by the way. We've put them through a whole application process. They hit the ground running in their training May 1st. So I think they're right at about 48 surveys. We don't call them inspections because that sometimes puts people on their edges. So yeah, we call them surveys. So.
But I also know the legislature is studying the volunteer fire. This is not just a Madison problem or a Jefferson County problem. It's a statewide problem that the legislature's looking at as well. And they're actually looking at consolidating some potential government units, so that could change our approach too if that happens. So this is not just a Madison or Jefferson County
No,
problem.
it's a national.
It's
national.
yeah, the state legislature's looking at that as well.
James County is already full-time, right?
So North Vernon, prior to us doing the paper call, they had 8 drivers. They had 2 drivers that would work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. They would have a live-in program. Some guys living there in the firehouse on Saturdays and Sundays. That chief got replaced. The first thing on that new chief's target was get some guys in here full time. So yes, they do have a staffed engine company that can cross their reference over to a truck company. The big green trucks with the ladders on top. That's a truck company. In case you didn't know, right?
Correct.
All right. So we can go all sorts of fire terminology, and I can make her ears steam. So I got lots of acronyms I can throw at you. So
Point of reference for around that salary, that chief made $60,000 in '24.
I'm sorry, who?
Jennings County?
James
Yeah.
North Vernon, $59,396 in '24.
And
It's not a bad salary, could it be more? Yeah, I mean, but.
I'm just point of reference.
And 65 is what I was going to recommend for not day one starting,
Yeah.
but I want to put something the fluff in there that again we have some wiggle room to do.
So one other thing, and I'm done.
You're good.
with it, but is the fire company suppression apparatus.
Mhm.
So 24 was like 10,000, then went up to 70,000, and they asked for another 70. Is this?
It's in lit.
It is in lit for
No,
sure.
Yeah.
it's all been 70,000 for the last 3 years.
It wasn't in 2024, because that's what was spent was 99.75.
Let me see what you're looking at, 'cause I think you're.
Bill, there was one budget year we forgot to put it in, remember? That might have been 24.
2024 actual expenditures.
Yeah, I think that was, I don't know where you ever, no, it's been put in every year,
Okay.
but I don't know.
Budgeted, but the actual expenditure, either
So,
it didn't get spent or.
we don't spend it, it actually, at the end of the year, we take from this and put into the bank for them to use. And
For them, who's now?
stations 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
For
The only one
just,
we didn't put in, was a 38,000 with the SCBA.
for what? For like, what do they use it for?
Refurbishment, and we actually have an ordinance for it, it's for refurbishment of apparatus. Tower 4, for instance, it's a 2008 American La France, it's gonna go for a refurb next year. It's probably gonna cost around $300,000 to $400,000 to get refurbed. When we talk about apparatus, Station 1 has got their new apparatus on order, it takes 3 years to get, it's a little over $1 million. For a new ladder truck, I got a new one in Louisville, it's a 100-foot aerial, it was 1.2 million. That was 2 years ago. We just bought another one, 1.5.
That would be we put that in capital, wouldn't we? That wouldn't be.
Yeah, you'd have to capitalize it
Yeah,
and
capitalize
have your
it.
debt service in your operating budget, but, Chief, maybe while we're on that topic, just share a little bit about the age of our current equipment,
Okay.
because it's
So-
very old.
So we own one truck. When I say one truck, we have some smaller vehicles, some service vehicles, and some other fleet vehicles. For our apparatus, the city of Madison owns one truck. It's Quint 6 sitting right on the hilltop. It's a 1994. Okay, see where I'm going with this, right?
That's a good year.
It is, right?
Is it holding up pretty well?
Huh?
Is it holding up pretty well?
1990, no, not really. I'd say it was a good year at high school.
So, that is the oldest truck we have in the fleet. I spent about $27,000. I'm getting ready to get another $7,000 bill on it right now. That's a lot of maintenance. And I have some pictures if you would like to see the undercarriage of the apparatus. It's seen better days. It's served the citizens of Madison very well for the last 31 years. But with that makes age. Okay. Now we do ladder inspections every year. We had it done last week. They come in and do all the stress testing and everything else on like that. Pass test, not a problem. But with that being said, they can't get inside the ladder and actually see if the metal is rusted inside the ladder. Structural degradation, right? So at that point, where the NFPA, National Fire Protection Association,
Thank you.
okay, they're like OSHA, right? OSHA is law, okay, but they also have some standards, which is law, and they also have some recommendations. So NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, you know what OSHA is, right?
I listened the first time.
All right, cool. So with OSHA, you got to do it. NFPA is, okay, they're going to write the stuff, and if you don't follow it, then the insurance companies come in, and then the OSHA representatives come in. They'll actually pull that information if we don't follow as closely as we can with the NFPA.
Okay.
25 years on NFPA. So we push that to the extent. Now, is it a good solid truck? Runs great, sounds great. Like I said, we just put another $7,000 into it for nozzle tip controls and the dilemma I had with the ECM. There's a small computer in there that communicates, a very small computer. They don't make it anymore. We found one in Texas.
Yeah.
So got it from Texas, shipped it in, wasn't programmed. So we then had to send it back to Texas. Texas couldn't program. Then we had to send it back to Texas, had to send Cincinnati. Cincinnati had to send it back to Texas. Texas sent it back to Clarksville. So that was 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So I mean, with that, that's what we're running into, unfortunately.
Yeah, I understand. I just wanted to know about the 70, just to understand it. I mean, if you're sending it to the other departments, it sounds like they're spending them.
So what it is, what that 70 is for, what that 70 goes for. And I think there's I can't remember the fund number. You can actually see the number. It's around 800,000, I believe, is currently in that account. So we give them 5 years ago, 4 years ago. It used to be $7,000 a year. Okay, so $7,000 a year is not much when you're replacing $1 million apparatus. So we bumped it up to 10. So the other 10 in there, of the 6 companies plus the 10, is for the city apparatus. So we said, hey, instead of asking for 60, let's ask for 10, so we can start earmarking some of that $10,000 for the city replacement apparatus.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It's good, I
Okay.
appreciate it. No, I
No,
appreciate
Thank you
it.
for planning in advance.
Alright.
Say that right.
We yeah, like I said, I've been in this
A little bit
position
at a time.
for more than a day. It took us a long time to get that figured out, how we were gonna get that going, but we started getting going, so.
Bill, it's 849 and 776.
There you go.
86 cents. Just really quick, we had discussions before, and there was a point where you were looking for funding because you had found a use.
Correct,
Is
we've
that portrayed in here if you were to find?
I have it in my budget notes.
Okay.
So, we're looking, and we got pre-approved through the Indiana Bond Bank, correct? To start looking for a replacement apparatus for Quint 6. And now when I say that, we can't afford a $1.5 million apparatus. It's gonna take 3 years to build. So there's been some gently used apparatus out there. We found one in Missouri, but somebody gobbled it up before we could pull the trigger on it. So we're continuing looking. We look every day. We've got a couple of dealers looking for some gently used apparatus. There's a couple out there that fit our price range, but there's 117,000 miles on a fire apparatus, which is a lot of miles. The engine hours are good, the pump hours are low because it's all highway miles.
Any other questions for Chief on fire? And I know we had some incorporated conversations with Lit Public Safety. We'll get back to that in more complete detail because there's fire and police and Lit Public Safety.
You wanna flip
As
to
well
lit
as
so we can
Sharon.
talk about his fire piece?
Yeah, I think he did a lot of that, but
Yeah, I think so too.
I think he took care of it.
I'm just gonna do my notes and you guys hit all
Yeah,
my notes,
do
so
it.
we're good. And when you talk about capital improvements, my forecast for the next 2 to 5 years?
It scares us.
No, it's capital improvements are easy. My capital improvements are easy.
All right.
Other than the ladder truck that's gonna cost us money.
Okay,
That's my
alright.
big capital improvement, right? So we already talked about that. We currently own, does anybody know how many stations we own, the city, in the city maps?
yes.
I know you,
I know,
we talk about it a
you know,
lot.
I know.
6.
We own Station 6, and
What? I thought we owned all 6 of
No.
them.
we own Station 2. Station 2 and 6 are actually owned by the city maps, and the rest are owned by the individual fire
And
companies.
Station 2 is the oldest continuous fire station left in the country.
We own 6.
And 2.
Correct,
6 is the best.
And all the others are individually owned.
correct.
And there's 4 of them.
Correct.
Wow.
So, when I took back over, Station 6 was leaking. HVAC systems were shot at both, and we were needing, bricks were falling off Station 2. So over the past few years, we have been able to get those buildings back up to kind of where we need to get. So we've upgraded all the HVAC systems in Station 6 this year. Station 2 is on the books. We'll knock that out hopefully this year unless something catastrophic happens. So my big expenditure over the next, in 2028 for Station 2 is gonna be the roof. We're gonna have to recoat that roof with an elastomer, poly. Snow roof, kinda like the snow roof, that's that kind of thing. So we gotta update the garage door systems at Station 2, which is gonna be about $1,500, to put a manual station on there. So when we had the power outage down, a couple months ago and knocked out everything, the guys were trying to manually raise these doors. Yeah, we're still gonna raise the manual, but we're gonna put a gear system up there to actually, it's gonna be slow, but raising a 700 to 800 pound garage door can be catastrophic sometimes if somebody lets go of it and it doesn't catch. 2027, we're gonna do some weatherization for the doors and the brickwork at Station 6, some small tuck pointing. We've got a couple lintels on the back side that we're starting to see some rust and decay, so we're gonna work on that. We talked about the apparatus. Station 6 has some extrication tools that we're gonna look at replacement in 27. Hazmat meters. We talked about hazmat meters. So anybody know what a VOC is?
Volatile
V-
organic compound.
Volatile organic compound. How many meters do you think we have in the county? that-
1. 0.
You got a lot of manufacturing.
Correct. So there is one.
Booyah!
There is one.
That's
Um,
kind of scary though, isn't it?
And there's major departments throughout the United States that could not tell me why they don't have a VOC. VOC is basically a respiratory hazard, right? So at that point, I worked with EMA. EMA had several dollars that were sitting there they have not used for any type of equipment, and they bought it for us. So, and that was about $6,000 for that 1 meter, and we maintain it ourselves. It's not a problem with that. So I'm looking
You
at
used
maybe,
it at City Hall too.
what's that?
You used it at City
I did
Hall.
use it at City Hall.
During
We use it quite often. We actually found gas in the sewer that wasn't given off an LEL, but was given off a VOC, and somebody was pouring gas down the sewer.
Well, with a power plant, I mean, it's a no-brainer, you have to.
Yeah. Now, I know they probably got some VOC.
Well, they
monitors
do,
now.
they have lots of them, but,
Uh,
but still,
Yeah.
fire department gets called in, you're,
Correct. So I'm looking at maybe upgrading some of our meters over the next couple of years to replace some of our aging meters into some of those VOC compliant meters. So they would read oxygen deficient, they would read an LEL, which is gas, right? Lower explosive limit, okay? Carbon monoxide, like I said, oxygen deficiency, HCN, which is hydrogen cyanide, H2X, which is hydrogen sulfide, which is sewer gas, as well as the VOCs. Sorry, I'm a hazmat nerd.
no, it's fun, it's kind of fun stuff.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
For the
Thank you very much.
information.
No problem.
Thanks,
You guys,
Chief.
anything else? Okay.
Invite Chief Scudder.
I'm sitting down.
Is your report that long? You
He's
said?
expecting quick, yeah, it's good.
See what you all say. I don't know.
Get yourself a snack.
I was just gonna say, when does dinner come?
Well, I was just asking if we
I know I'm
eat
getting
desserts
hungry
before-
myself.
I just thinking I'm getting a little hungry.
It's coming at 7.
All right, Sean, go.
Got 10 minutes before dinner.
You want us to fire our questions first?
Questions? So I'll start with one, you have, police captain, we'll start with salaries here. You have police captain going from 2035 to 271 to 400, 33, almost 34% increase, right? What's the,
So we've been operating on 8-hour shifts, which each shift has a captain, so there were 3 captains. We went back to the 12-hour shifts, which creates 4 shifts, 2 night shifts, 2 day shifts. So to put a 4th captain in to run a shift. You see an increase in that, but you effectively, you see the patrol go down, see the patrol went down 18%. Cause it bumps it'll bump somebody up promoting,
okay,
so.
so they go up, okay.
We'll take a patrolman, make them a senior patrolman to a sergeant.
And there's no operations manager next year, looks like either, right?
Oh, I took that out and we created the chief of the fire department.
So that's where that went, so no,
Just let
so the
that-
operations manager's gone, so you're shifted, okay, you shifted funds for them, that was for the fire department, not the police thing.
It's coming.
No, this is.
Well, it was to neutralize that expense, we eliminated it in BD and then created a chief in FP.
Okay,
It's still general fund.
yeah. Wait, I was actually gonna use that ball for the
Yeah.
captain, but no,
You
all
have
right,
a plan
no, I'm
for
not.
that money? Is the major another name for the assistant chief?
Yes.
Thank you.
So you got no holiday pay in for next year, is the idea that you're not gonna have, shift pay or holiday pay at all based
No.
on the new
Did it
shift
go
schedule?
to lit or
I
something?
think that shifted over
I'm
to
telling you, I
county
messed
tax
up.
budget.
Oh.
I definitely messed that up.
No placeholder.
County, no. It's- Okay, there's the shift pay, there's
Yeah.
the holiday pay,
But
okay.
it came, Josh, when it came down to looking at the general fund levy and balancing it with tax levy and revenue, I needed to move some stuff out, so it had to come back over here.
Do we
Yeah,
consider,
it's just,
do we consider putting all incidental pays, like holidays and stuff like that, in its own kind of account from every department? That way we can track like a bottom line, like bare bones operating for each department. Does that make sense?
That's what we do with FICA
It is?
perk, yeah,
Okay.
it does make sense.
I mean, that's what we're
What's-
doing, so
Is what we're-
I, so I'm a little, so, but we're not now. It's because you need to move them to,
We don't have enough room
In the general fund.
in the general
Yeah.
fund.
Right. Well, I mean,
Yeah, can you help- can you- I mean,
cap
just
on
help
your
me.
levy. I mean, what we've been trying to do is shift as much of that extra spending out of the general fund, which is primarily supported by the property tax levy, into other sources. And then you have the list here, there's probably 20 other sources of revenue. The two biggest ones, I mean, lit public safety is the biggest
Yes.
other source besides property tax revenue, and you've got all the NROs that come.
so you're doing it because that's where the county's giving us funding, right? We're getting funds from the county, so you're putting it there so that you're using some of those funds.
A lot of ways, and a lot of this was done in order to manage the amount of levy that DLGF is allocating to us and keep our property tax rates stable. So it's
Right.
just, there's buckets of money, as we were talking about there. You've got your lit and you've got your general fund, those are the two biggest ones.
All right, so then my last question, I'll let everybody else get it,
Yeah.
jump in, but where are we at with the body cams and the laptops?
Yeah, I would ask about that too. We talked about it last year.
I've got one view on it, the mayor has a different view. I mean, I don't know.
I thought you had already ordered the laptops.
The laptops, yes. Well, we'd gotten a quote last year, we got a new quote, it was a bit higher. We're waiting, we emailed them again, they emailed today, they're coming down a little bit in price, we're gonna try to order them tomorrow, so, for the laptops.
So laptops, good, okay, we're getting those, what about the body cams?
Did we not have enough money to get both? Is that what it came down to?
No, cause it was put in last year to come out of our continuing ed fund, and we can't sustain that, because the continuing ed's completely funded by the small amount of revenue that we generate, and it can't sustain the body cam contract year after year.
Okay, and the continuing ed is what line item, can you help me with that?
Well, it's in the way
It's
back.
got its own budget, MPD continuing
Oh,
ed.
MPDC,
Yep.
okay.
Well, and I tried to find an ordinance for that, just to see what is put in. And I
State
can't-
ordinance.
How much extra revenue would we need to fund the body cam?
We put 100 in for 2025, right? And none of us.
No, we didn't put anything in the continuing ed, because the only money going into continuing ed is our revenue. So the golf cart permits, our tickets,
Okay.
that's the only thing going in there.
And what is that under? What is that continuing? Is it a continuing ed?
Yeah, it's,
What's the tab?
it has MPDCE.
CE.
It's all with the.
Thank you.
It's right before the color.
Okay, so help, Mindy, help.
So just to back up for a second, I've had this conversation since I've been on council for 6 years. We've talked about this before, and we did get body cams. So I guess those were not adequate, is that
The body
correct?
cams that were bought 5 or 6 years ago were,
Right,
frankly, they were just cheap.
and they weren't good enough.
I mean,
And that's why.
We've got a pile of them that have failed, we lose them pretty frequently, they don't work, we had,
Do
you
we
know,
have
just,
warranties on those?
they're gone, I think it's maybe a year on them, but they'll
Yeah.
usually last a year, but, I can pull video after video of officers like trying to
Okay.
turn them on, and, their body cams don't come on until
Okay,
halfway through whatever they're dealing with, and then there's videos of them trying to shut them off,
Yeah.
they won't shut off.
well,
And you
just-
gotta pull a card out, you gotta upload it to your computer, so there's no cloud. So it's not even uploaded to a cloud base, which is really modern, right?
Okay. Well, I
Um,
just wanted to get
makes it
past
better.
my deja vu as
Yeah.
we move forward.
Yeah.
So-
When they bought those body cams 5 or 6 years ago, they should have bit the bullet then and got good ones, but
So what's the concept
Okay.
now, and what do you think
Are we gonna
the
fix it?
cost would be,
Are we gonna phase them in, or are we just?
Over time, can you do that, like the fire department does? They buy 5 radios a year, you could buy,
you can, but it's gonna cost more in the long run.
think there's a major liability for the city and for the public by our officers not having reliable body
Sure.
cams. It's just one incident and something gets out there, we don't have to video, we could be.
So how much are we short? Like, how much revenue do we produce in that fund?
Well,
And
our
versus how much
expected
do we
revenue
need?
is 75,000. That's 25,000, that's gonna be golf cart permits, and then some ticket sale, or ticket,
What's the fund number? I can tell you. First four digits.
22, 28.
there you go.
I was like, I don't know what that is. I see the appropriation number, but I see what you read, I just didn't know it was the fund.
Yeah, that police and continuing ed currently has 160,361.
And so what is the cost?
In the
But 160, we're paying for our computers out of that, and that's gonna be
Right.
about $90,000.
And just to clarify, you know, that bumped up because we finally got reimbursement of a port grant that we had to fund. So that took a couple of years to get the reimbursement of that port grant.
And that went into this one.
And it went into that fund.
Which is
About
where it
80
came out of.
80 It came out of there.
Because it was
Went
to
out of-
reimburse them for.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was a lot of moving parts to this discussion. And I'm in favor of investing in the equipment. It's just that the way it was proposed last year was too much and too many years of commitments. So as we've talked about, let's scale it back, make it more manageable, not enter into multi-year commitments and phase it in. And we're starting with laptops. But I'm amenable to, you know, satisfying the needs, because they got needs for cars and guns and tasers and body cams and laptops.
Well, no, you know, tasers was the other thing last year that
Yeah.
we talked about, right? And I don't think.
There just
we were
wasn't
able to get
enough
that either.
revenue for the commitment that was being proposed.
I've looked at golf cart fees in other communities, and we could easily be on par with a lot of other golf cart fees if we take ours from 25 to 50 or 60, and that'd be.
As we've said before,
I-
fines and fees, any revenue stream is on the table for discussion to raise. It's the appropriate time to do it because of the changes that's happening in our budgets.
I-
Do we wanna
I
create an
agree.
incentive to
I
get
agree.
more fines if it's directly?
Well, we're not doing that. It's just that, you know, I mean, we're using some fines that were probably set 30 years ago.
Sure.
Violations for us,
Yeah.
good examples.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're working toward that. We've got some data gap. It's timing. We just cannot get together a time to present to you all an increase in the violation fines. I just don't know that it'll match whatever it is you guys talked about that your needs are for this.
How much are the body cam?
I have to pull the contract back up.
It was, I mean, it wasn't cheap for sure.
So the laptops were 10,000, is that right?
No, 90,000.
90,000.
Slightly more.
Do you guys
Just
have
a little
server?
bit more, just a
rounding number.
Do you guys run a server at the police station?
For the body cams we have currently,
Right.
yes, and we've lost years of body cam in the past because we
Yeah.
get hit by lightning or
Yeah.
the server will just crash and then.
So there's a consideration for not only the body cams, but understanding the server capability and how to protect.
Well, this will all, the new system, my understanding, is all gonna go cloud-based.
Mm.
So then they don't have to worry about, having a server there. They will, that server's then taken care of by the company that they're utilizing. They're paying a fee for
And,
them to have
a
it.
big part of this
It's back up.
contract is not, I mean, the equipment is a lot, but a big part of it is the support that comes with it, this, the cloud services. So, I don't think phasing it in is the correct way. I think we all need to get on the same system at the same time. The sheriff's department's already on it, the state police is on it, the prosecutor's office is on it. So if we have half our department operating on old body cams, we have half our department operating on new body cams, it's just not.
Did you give us a number yet of what the big overall price would be,
See if I can find it. I have it.
approximate?
I don't know. Do you know
What was the
what
company
estimated?
that
it's-
said?
I'm
Because
sorry.
we have 70,000 left after they buy their computers,
In this year?
right? Correct, is that correct?
Yeah,
Say
we have
that
to be
again, I'm
about
sorry.
70 left.
You have approximately $70,000 left in that fund, and so I'm trying to figure out how much more we would need.
Well, and then if you get another, let's say 25,000 from golf cart fees next year, because that's, I think it's about right.
50 instead of 25.
And if we could double it and maybe go, if we decide we're gonna double it.
Oh,
maybe-
sure, let's raise some more fees so I
Yeah, I
can
know.
listen to,
I'm just saying,
God
you know, trying to
almighty.
give him revenue to
I
get the
know,
body
I
cams.
know. But I mean, I'm just stating facts, I mean.
I get it, I understand, but I don't know, I mean, like, we want them to get this and to protect the city, and you gotta be able to
I mean,
help them
public
somehow.
safety is a big concern.
I think it's about right at 80,000 a year for the body
80,000.
cam and
About
taser
80.
contract.
And that's
How many years
support
was
and-
the contract?
5 years.
So that's, and I understand also, if they do this with this, what they do is they support it, and if the body cam goes out, they have to replace it. So you don't have the warranty type issue, it's already, it's underneath that contract.
Well, and that's,
Correct.
and that's what you know, again, the mayor's vision, that's one of what I like about it is you get new equipment the first day, you get new equipment at 2.5 years, and then you get new equipment again at 5 years. So while the life expectancy of these body cams might be 3 or 4 or 5 years, it prevents them from failing in the field.
Or if
because
they do, they get replaced.
If they do, they get replaced, but they should, because you're getting new ones at year 2.5, they should be replaced before they fail. Because when they fail, it's gonna fail at the worst time.
Is there anything within that body cam contract that could be scaled back a little bit to still enable us?
Well, when I initially got the contract, it was for 35 officers, and then I think the fire department wanted 6 or 7. So they'll eat up part of that contract with the ones that they want, but now that we're down to 29, so yeah, I can drop 6 off of there.
Last year, in the budget, we said 50,000 annually for 5 years for the body cams, and then 35,000 annually for the tasers.
Okay, so I said it was about 80, so
85
maybe
total for the 2 items.
That's tasers too.
Yes.
I mean, you know, the issue was, when you looked at what we were appropriating, plus the revenue that was being generated and continuing, yeah, there wasn't enough money to satisfy that multi-year commitment. So that's why I was,
At that
and,
point,
and I was cautioning everybody, there was a lot of, we were heading into years of uncertainty. Don't go out and do a 5-year contract that just has replenishment provisions in it. Just, you know, like maybe what Patrick was talking about, that's what I'm advocating too, is, you know, let's try to look at a year at a time if we can. In 2027, when we get through our municipal lit adoption, we're gonna have more known then as to what the revenue is gonna be going forward. But we gotta get through that.
Yes, sorry, I have a quick question. So do you recall with that contract, did that take care of any FOIA requests? Because you do get those when you have body cams that are actually up, and the city of South Bend's just now instituting a fine or a fee to pull that information up.
We
So
have a
that would
fee
be-
already, if you want a body cam, there's a
Footage.
fee attached to
I'm
that.
just curious if the company, Axon or whatever, do they offer any help with pulling up that date and
No, but
vetting who gets
it's a
that
lot,
info?
it's a lot more accessible on our end than what it currently is. Right now,
Okay.
if I want, you know, if we have 4 officers that are on a scene and somebody comes in and requests body cam from those 4 officers, I've gotta go in to the computer, scroll down to everybody's name, scroll up,
See if they have a body cam.
find the exact date, find the exact time, click on the you know, the exact incident, and do that for every officer. Whereas now, with the new system, I can just go in, type in the date, and type in the case number, it'll already be attached, and it'll have it all right there.
I think to Mayor's point, if there's a way to recoup some of the fee that's gonna cost to implement the system by increasing the fee that we charge.
We're already charging the maximum allowed by the state.
Okay, never mind.
well, the other thing is you gotta be careful, I mean, as much, and I get going down in years maybe, but when you do that, a lot of times the companies then increase the price. So you may do that and you're like, okay, well, if you're only gonna commit with this for a year, well then the support's gonna go up by X%.
Well, and there's also
So, I don't know if
there's a
we'll-
non-appropriation clause in the contract, so if in 2 years, if the money's not there, we can get out of the contract. So those are just my thoughts. Again, you know, I know he's got,
Well, it's okay to.
I'm looking out for what, you know, that's just what I think is best.
I think that's it. But I think that non-appropriation clause is important, because then it allows you to deal with some of that uncertainty and fix that budget when it should be. The implication is if we we're not supporting some of these services, but we're asking you to raise costs in other services, that becomes a very hard question to answer. So I'd rather default and say, yeah, we had to raise services here, but the justification is sound, because our police force has body cameras right now. And we know as a council that we can also get out of that contract should there not be the appropriate funds. That sounds like a solution to move forward.
There's also a risk. My concern about entering into, again, I wanna work something out, so let's figure out what dollar amount we can afford and make a capital plan that. But there's a lot of risk elements I just keep coming back to over the next few years. There's still a lot of unknown until this municipal tax situation gets resolved. And then there's still more legislative changes to happen. There's just a lot of unknowns. And then I'm also concerned about entering into a multi-year agreement where you have to intentionally exercise something in order to cancel it. And I'm afraid that could get missed. And then you create an obligation that again is a rolling obligation that is a lot of money. I think we can figure it out, but I'm not in favor of 5-year agreements in this environment.
I agree. I think that logically we have to carry that throughout all of our approaches to, so that's just, I agree.
Yeah.
But that'll kind of be like my mindset too, is trying to use that logic throughout all of our.
Yeah.
But you're not looking at it as a capital investment, right? This is
What's that?
actually, this is not capital, this is just operational expense.
It's
right?
gotta come from somewhere. You've gotta identify the source, whether it's gonna come from a general fund
Right.
levy that's declining, or a lit tax that you don't know what's gonna be in 2 years. That's all I'm just trying to
No, I'm
throw
just
that out
saying
there,
if
which
we-
is that it is a mixture of operations and capital investment.
And I'm not, and I'm definitely not
Yeah,
disagreeing.
yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm just saying, we need to, but we gotta give certainty somewhere, somehow. I know that we're looking at some uncertainty, but we gotta give them some certainty somewhere, somehow, to be able to get the equipment they want, just as much as fire department sitting here telling us, okay, we're gonna ongoing, radios and pagers every year.
Right.
Well, this isn't really, they're asking for an ongoing for body cams, I guess, right?
Well, it's kind of a financial bellwether, if we're concerned about constraints here, not saying that anything's terrible, but it just,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, that seems to be a priority, so if we're not addressing that priority, we have to make it work before we can make other stuff work.
Yeah. It is.
Do you think you could, both of you could get together and kind of put together two proposals or something for us? on
Yeah, and we've
what
talked,
this
and
should
I'm
look
gonna
like? We can-
be back in touch with Axon to try to
Yeah.
renegotiate what we've got.
It'd be nice to be able to.
But
go
I-
and then hear.
I'm convinced that it's gonna be considerably more expensive in the long run to not do a contract. But I understand his
Yeah,
concerns
yeah.
at the same time,
It looks to me like you have about $100,000 a year to work with. I'm just
but
saying,
I,
spend $100,000 this
my
year, not
opinion,
commit $500,000 this year.
in my opinion, it should not come out of our continuing ed, it should not be dependent. And again, I'm ignorant to a lot of this.
Well, that's the
but-
same as an NRO. We've got every other department with an NRO that's supporting their operations.
Right, but they have revenue to support it, and we don't have a lot of revenue.
Are we willing to pull from anywhere else? Can we pull from anywhere else?
God, we're gonna go through all the budgets today and tomorrow, and we could certainly look at that. Again, I keep saying we're gonna know more later, and there's revenue. I think there's fines and fees that also, kind of in my opinion, make up an NRO for NPD.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of small things that
Yeah.
we could.
They could add up. if
Yeah,
you're-
and they've not been looked at in forever.
Right.
Like a lot of the ticket violation fees are just stupid.
They're really low.
Yeah.
So right now, the golf cart fees go into this continuing education area.
Did you say how much revenue we had to date? I'm sorry.
Josh? Okay,
I think there's in the.
In the continuing ed,
yeah, 22, 28.
thank you.
I think you said
2228. So revenue to date, we have had, now again, keep in mind, is this the one that we put
Yes.
we put $94,000 in this from FEMA grant.
Okay.
94 and some change, so they currently to date have gotten $118,000 to date. So if you take 118, so they can do that.
$24,000 in revenue
They
today.
got 24,000. So, I mean,
I don't
it's
know
not a
where
lot.
the expected revenue of 75 comes from, but
Fund balance.
Wishful thinking.
And you have to remember that we
Well,
had
they
DJ stepping
spent
on Main
74.
Street writing tickets multiple times a day, and that has stopped.
There was dispersed this year 74,859 to date.
Our revenue year to date there, from 2028,
Yeah.
It was 117,000
it's not as much as.
revenue year to date.
But she just put 94
No,
in
it's
from
118,000
FEMA.
revenue year to date,
Well, as of
118,158.
End of July or whatever, when
That's okay.
you sit down.
Right.
Yeah, and that,
She's
somebody took the $94,000 FEMA grant, they got reimbursement for it. The difference between the two is the actual revenues.
So 23,600-ish.
That sounds good. Oh, yeah.
That was a reimbursement.
Yeah, the money was put back into, that's what the state requires, is to put the money back in where it came from, and that's where it got come from. Which actually worked out well because we were gonna be in the negative anyway, so if you look at the $20-some thousand, we dispersed 74,859, the money had to get back in there anyway, so.
What are flock cameras?
That's the license plate reading cameras that we have.
They're black, they're the black ones. Like by the
Big
bridge.
Brothers wants
We have on the
watching.
bridge.
By the bridge, there's one by the bridge.
I didn't know we had them.
Yeah.
What?
Town's got one.
So what,
Dang
the,
it, so you have seen me.
no, and Flock does a really good job about making sure that those aren't abused, but what they're used for, so it's like if we have a suspect in a crime, maybe we think it's a drug dealer, we'll punch their information into that.
Yeah.
And then anytime they cross a Flock camera anywhere in the country,